Hey everyone, welcome back to A Cup of Security. I'm so glad that you came back to join us, and I'm ready to kick today's episode off. It's Friday. We've made it through the week, guys. We're almost to the weekend. The clock is ticking away towards the weekend, or depending on where you are in the world, it may already be the weekend. Um, Props to you. It goes along with the whole it's 5 o'clock somewhere, right? I hope that you guys are ready and snuggled in with your secure tea or your secure coffee before we get started for today's episode. Let me know what you're drinking in the comments below. So I wanted to kick off today's episode to talk to you guys a little bit like why I'm actually here. So why I started A Cup of Security, and why I love talking to you guys about security stuff. So, as I mentioned, in previous videos, I have worked in technical support for a long time. And I have been one of those people where they've told you to turn it off and on again. Um, you know, reboot the computer, the whole nine. And a lot of that information is basically spoken to all of us up here. It's spoken in this technical, weird jargon that doesn't really make sense to everyday people, right? So we're not talking about engineers and architects. We're talking about moms, dads, grandpops, everyday people. And my thought process with this whole channel was to talk to you guys about how you experience security every single day and you don't even realize it. And in doing so, with experiencing security, not realizing it, there are certain ways that we have to protect ourselves to make sure that we are being secure in everyday life in ways that we didn't really think of before. And the reason why that's the most important, especially this year, past year with COVID, pandemic, all that, is there's a lot of bad guys that are out there that are waiting essentially for us to mess up. They are waiting for us to give them an opportunity to do something bad. And the only way that we can really stop those bad guys is to be more aware and really think about how security is a part of our everyday. So you may be wondering, how is security a part of my everyday? I live my everyday life. I go to work. I pick up my kids from school. I don't work in security or in some IT field or anything. How does it impact me, right? You may be wondering that. So think about it this way. When you go to get coffee, we'll bring it back to coffee and tea because we love our coffee and tea, right? Say you go to get coffee and tea in the morning at Wawa, or I'm from Pennsylvania, from the East Coast. There's Wawas around. I don't know where you're from. Actually, let me know what coffee places are in the areas by you guys. I'm very curious about that. I always like hearing about, local places that are basically in other parts of the country and world and such. So you go to your coffee shop, and right. So either you can pay with a phone, which many of you may not even know that you could do that, but you can pay with a phone. You can pay with a card. You can pay with cash. And now there's even other things where you can pay with smartwatches and stuff. But I would say for the most part, people are going to pay with a card. When you go to use your card at a coffee shop, security is involved. Really. Security is involved because your card is being swiped and is being sent through a terminal. Oh boy, she said the word terminal. Here we go. I'm going to end it right there. It's being swiped through a machine, and your card information is being sent somewhere. Card information is important, right? Because bad guys can use that to buy, they can do identity theft and stuff, and they can use that to buy anything, right? They could steal your credit card information. There's actually places on the internet, well, it's technically the dark web that everybody hears about, where bad guys pay and buy your social security number and your debit card. So your credit card information goes somewhere. That's security. The fact that your personal information goes from one point to another, how does it get there securely? That's security. It's the same thing like if you use like Apple Pay or your phone to pay for your coffee. That's even more security. And the reason for that is because basically your bank information is on your phone. So, and we'll do a whole episode on that. But if someone has access to your phone and they can break in your password, which if you don't have a great password, they can get access to your accounts. Again, security. So it's all these little things. Another thing that we really don't think about is when we go to get gas or fuel. Same thing. Our information is being transferred somewhere. So it's just about thinking about how every single day, all of these things that we do connect to security and good security habits. Because if we don't practice good security habits, well, what can happen? So you guys may have seen in the past 2 years on the news, you keep seeing stuff about ransomware, right? Keep hearing about that. And it's like, what is this ransomware? This is only hitting businesses. What does this have to do with me? I only have, a kid, or I work for a small business. Why does this impact me? It impacts you because all of those attacks, they all start with one of us. They all start with a human. And if we don't understand how to practice better security habits, like the stuff we talk about on a couple of security, then we have no chance of stopping the bad guys. So we talked all about like the ransomware attacks and all that stuff, and we just talked about like, what does that have to do with me, right? And we talked about how it does have to do with you, how it starts with every single one of us. So the way that we can start to think about it more is a thought about digital wellness. So think about it. Every single year, you usually go to the doctor for a well visit or a preventative visit, right? To make sure like your blood sugar is okay, your blood levels, like you're functioning well as a human. You feel good, you're keeping all your systems running. That's what that doctor's visit is for. And that's human wellness. Well, when we think about it, we have an entire life that's online. We have all of our card information, we have photos, we have Facebook, we have all these things that we use every single day that are all a part of digital wellness. And really, all digital wellness comes down to is practicing good security habits, being healthy online. What do you mean healthy? What does that mean? That means doing the best that you can to use good passwords and good habits to set yourself up for success online, to protect your family and your friends' information online. That's it. That's what digital wellness is. The thing is, we don't really talk about a digital life. Like, nobody talks about that, or digital wellness, I should say. And that's because we don't really think about that we have a digital life, or a life that like solely exists on the internet. Like, that thought doesn't really compute. So what are some top 3 tips for improving our digital wellness, right? Because like we said, we go to the doctor for our well visits. How do we improve our digital wellness? How do we make sure that our friends and family and ourselves are staying safe online? So, numero uno, number 1, not writing down passwords, like on post-its that are put on your monitor or near a tablet or in a notebook. This way, would you write your house alarm on the door outside of your house? Probably not. So if you want to do that, then it's probably not a good idea to write your password on a post-it note, because it's basically the same thing as we talked about in previous episodes. Like your phone, your tablet, your computer, they are all doors to your digital life. So we don't want to put the password to the house alarm on the door of our digital life, right? Still in 2021, we are using easy passwords. Passwords like password 123, password 123456. There's a study that like 67% of passwords are still super easy passwords. No, you don't want to do that. The reason why is they can be taken apart and easily figured out in 5 seconds. That's where what we talked about last week, and I'll put the link to that video below, where password managers come in handy, because we want to make sure that we are using one password for each of our accounts to keep the bad guys out. But more than anything, we do not want to use password 1234. That's basically like being on a busy street in New York and handing our wallet out. Like, we don't want to do that. That's no good. That is something that you may not have thought about before, but do you ever see those like quizzes on Facebook where it asks you like to answer question A, B, and C, and based on that, it will tell you like what your horoscope is, or what Jonas brother you're going to meet, something like that. Those are no bueno. They're no good. The same thing with like sharing any kind of personal information about yourself on social media. Those things are the doors that bad guys use to get information about you, and they will use that information to basically try to commit credit card fraud. So they'll call credit card companies, and they'll be able to figure out information. They'll even be able to figure out your password based on the things in those quizzes. Because not only do those quizzes steal your data, but they also get published to Facebook. And then any person who can research on the internet can find those answers. And in a matter of 15 seconds, can easily figure out like where you live, what school you go to, what school your kids go to. Like, it's a door, and we want to keep the bad guys out of the door. Just to recap we talked about the top 3 tips for digital wellness and securing ourselves online easily. Numero 1, not writing down passwords on post-it notes or a notebook that can be found near your devices. Number 2, not using easy passwords like password 123 and using a password manager like Bitwarden. And also using a different password for each account. Super important. All 3 of these security tips really come down to we want to minimize the amount of information that somebody can easily search about us online. Facebook, other social media are one of the first places that they look. So the more that you reduce what information you post, like I said, IDs, where you go to school, where your kids go to school, where you work, when you're going on vacation, all of these things will help reduce the risk that a bad guy is going to come through your digital door. I use the word risk, not like the board game. But I guess kind of like the board game if you think about it that way. So today, pretty much all we talked about were top 3 security tips for staying safe easily online. I would love to hear any additional tips that you guys have. As we go forward into this month, we're going to be approaching the holiday season, and we're going to be talking all about scams, people trying to sell information online, things you may come across during the holiday season, Black Friday, all of that. It's going to be covered here, so you do not want to miss it. I hope that you all have an amazing Friday. Enjoy the rest of your security or coffee, and I will catch you guys next week. See ya.